Warning: the following audio may contain coarse language and other materials that may not be suitable for a younger audience. The opinions expressed in this audio are solely those of the speakers involved. These conversations may contain spoilers for current media such as games, comics, movies, television shows, and more. GrownAGeeks makes no claim to ownership of the various media discussed, simply the opinions expressed. Listener discretion is advised.
Yo, 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 welcome. What's up? We are GrownAGeeks. This is Weigh In Wednesday. Welcome. I'm your host, Sam, lead admin for GrownAGeeks. How's everybody doing tonight? Hope you're enjoying yourself. I want to thank you for tuning in. It is Fourth Wednesday. And so Fourth Wednesday is our music focus. We've decided we will have themed episodes every week, and Fourth Wednesday we want to do music. We found out that a lot of us are really into music and got a couple of DJs, and I just like music a lot. I don't know if you all remember when I went through my Spotify year end, but I had like 20-something thousand minutes listened and just always listening to music. And I don't even listen to the radio much because it's all the same stuff. So what's the point?
Radio's trash.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same like 3 songs all day long. I am going to ask everybody that is joining us tonight, if you would just do me a small favor. Go ahead and jump into the YouTube. I think it is actually streaming on Facebook tonight. I was going to pull it down and just have it on YouTube and Twitch. And of course, you get to mess with stuff, trying new things. And I think it's still actually showing in GrownAGeeks, which is fine. We appreciate you being here. But if you would be so kind to either check the Twitch stream or the YouTube and join us there, that'll help us out a lot as we are trying to change a few things and make it all make sense. What's going on, man? How you doing tonight?
I'm good, man. I'm excited about this topic. Anybody who know me and music are like this,
Right.
I've been, playing the piano since I was 4, playing the drums since I was 13, making beats since I was 14, DJing since I was like 23, 24.
Okay. Okay.
I have had a love affair with music my entire life. Honestly, like, even though I am a visual artist, there's an alternate reality out there somewhere where Jeffrey is some sort of music something. And so, I think I kind of have gotten to this place where I realize, like, everything creatively, I can't go into it with the idea of like, I need to monetize this, so I kind of keep my music stuff just as a hobby. Personal. Yeah. Like I mostly make mixes at home and I throw them up on my Mixcloud, or I'll make like house edits of tracks and throw them up on my SoundCloud and stuff. So if it's not that, I'm, always listening to stuff, always making new playlists and sharing music with any and everybody who thinks that there's nothing new out there that's good. So that's the crusade I'm on. There's still great music out there, no matter what genre you like. You just have to be willing to go out and find it now. Right. And I think that's the biggest difference between, like, we all grew up on the radio. We all grew up with, top 10 countdowns, Chris Love and Poon Daddy, who some of you I know as Ludacris now, but back in the day, he had a radio show in Atlanta. He was known as Chris Lover. Greg Street still doing his thing. And then obviously being from Atlanta in the 90s, that was just like an explosion of music from the Face Records, Dungeon Family, Camp, Dallas Austin. I mean, Usher's not really from Atlanta, but he did all his music stuff and growing up here. I mean, there was a lot of bad boy stuff going on here. So Def. The list goes on. TLC, Outkast, Goody Mob, Killer Mike. I mean, Young Jock, Lil Jon, Crime Mob. The list goes on and on. So, yeah, I'm excited about this episode.
Well, we'll have plenty to talk about, and one of the key things that I know I wanted to discuss regarding music specifically was the very close connection between music and the geek community. And I think a lot of that takes place in the late 90s. There was a definite connection as we started to see, oh, we got David here. Hat Man. What's going on, brother?
What's good? What's happening?
As we started to see a slight bit of a transition from the gangster rap and the persona that was required to put that kind of music out, and we started seeing people be more of just who they were. We started to see those influences come through in the music. And it was across all genres, not just hip hop. You have bands like Weezer. You have a lot of the grunge bands. What is the Pretty Fly for a White Guy? I'm trying to think. It's escaping me at the moment. But
that Fatboy Slim? No.
Well, but there again, Fatboy Slim, another one that Beck. I mean, there's so many genres.
You're thinking of the Offspring.
Offspring, that's it. So the one thing I hate about tonight is that because of the licensing, I can't just have music playing all night. But we will have a little treat for you a little later on, as a few more people come in. And for those of you who are, I'll have a nice little share for you at the end of the show or before the show is out. But I noticed that there were a lot of songs, and one of the first things that came to mind was if you go all the way back to the movie Labyrinth, Jim Henson, 1989, the movie Labyrinth, David Bowie was responsible for the entire soundtrack. And although that wasn't the first time that it happened, that was one of the first times a major mainstream artist like David Bowie had such heavy influence on the sound of a movie. Any other time it was done, there was whole composers, like your Danny Elfmans, your John Williams, who took care of scores. But we started seeing that's actually much more common now for Pharrell to take care of the entire soundtrack for a movie. Prince, when he did Batman.
Well, that actually goes back to, since we're in Black History Month, that's actually something that started in the 60s and 70s with blaxploitation films, where they would actually go to music artists, and somebody like Curtis Mayfield doing Superfly, Willie Hutch with the Mac and with Foxy Brown, Isaac Hayes, Shaft, obviously probably the most famous of all of those. So, David Bowie got that from us, and I don't think he would be. No. And I don't think he would be, remiss about giving credit, because that's the kind of man that he was.
I was about to say, I mean, that is absolutely the kind of man who David Bowie married to. That is absolutely, that is absolutely the kind of thing he would give proper credit for, and he would recognize. And just as I was kind of doing the looking back, and I guess what I was looking at is, cinema as a whole. I think the consumption of movies, most people who fall into that geek category, movies are probably the easiest thing to geek out about, because there's just so many genres. There's so many different types of movies out there. There's just so much to consume. And even if I know 3 people that are not huge horror movie fans, but there's still going to be a number of horror movies that we've seen, because some of those movies can actually kind of cross over and be multi-genre. I can do horror suspense more so than like jump scare. And the sound of a movie can make all the difference, because there's sometimes where the soundtrack can be better than the movie. You could have
so many times.
You could have just a really bad movie, but a great soundtrack. Because I'm gonna tell you, I watched this movie not too long ago, and one of the highlights of the movie was hanging with my family.
Party.
Yeah, party with my family. You know what I'm saying? When we watched that why did I watch that? Birdemic. Go back and check out that episode. One of the highlights of that horrible movie was the little segment where the guy was singing. It was entertaining. That was one of the most entertaining parts. And they took time to put that whole song in. So you fast forward and you look at somebody as influential as Prince and what he's done for music as a whole. And 1989's Batman would not be the same without Prince's soundtrack. He really blurred the lines between his creativity and musical genius and added an entirely new element to that movie.
Yeah, and I think it really changed like what people saw as who was the target audience for something like a comic book, right? Like, I think when you think about comics, especially back then, it was kind of like this thing that was relegated for like children. And then like the people who were still into it when they were adults were kind of like grown children at that point. But it's kind of like, people still like Batman, but it wasn't something, everybody would readily like admit. But then when Prince does the Batman soundtrack, I think that kind of gets a lot of people like paying attention to it that may not have and thought, if you're not into like, Tim Burton and all that stuff like that, and he's not like really on a lot of people's radar culturally at that point, I think it just brought a lot more eyes to like basically a comic book character. And then even just what Prince decided to do in terms of like painting his own vision of like Gotham City and Batman and the relationship and just freshening it up. And, because obviously we have I think Danny Elfman did the score, right?
Correct.
And so we have like obviously the traditional thing that everybody knows from the movie, the sound, the Batman song, the Batman, whatever the song is actually called, but it's the Batman song.
The theme, I think, is perhaps the most appropriate. The Danny Elfman's dun 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 dun, like, so I mean, right?
All that.
It's still, I mean, it's pretty iconic still. Like.
But when I'm trying to like kick it, I'm not listening to that. That's one thing I would say musically. I'm not a score person. I know people who can sit down and like listen to a score. Like in my last job, they will put on like Lord of the Rings score and like Batman score. And I would just be like, all right, headphones on. Let me listen to some music that was meant to be listened to without visuals attached to it. But like that Vicky Vale break in Batman, like that's like a DJ's dream. You know what I mean? It's just like paying respect to certain cultures that maybe you wouldn't expect to be seen in a movie like that, especially not in 1989. But at the same time, like making it cool, making it hip. Yeah, it's I'm with it.
Yeah, and one of the other things that we were going to discuss, just in terms of music is such a major part of our day-to-day. It's a part of everything we consume, and video games are no exception.
Right.
You have music in a video game, and that can hype you up for the big battle. It can motivate you to get through. That something is about to happen by the way the music changes. And, what I'm saying? You have the battle music. And, I think of something like Final Fantasy where you're just kind of running around and you have the little soft, fluty music playing in the background. But then you run up on something and it does that little transition. And it's like, dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. And it's like, that something's happening right there because the way that music got you hype, and now it's battle music. So, video games fall into the same category, and it has the same effect because, I know there's been many times just letting the Halo soundtrack play, that Halo main theme, that's a bop. You know what I'm saying? And it'll if you're trying to get through something, you just got to grind it out. You can throw that on and, go collect your legendary skulls.
Right.
I
And
learned
so-
what that is in season 2.
and even more to that point, Sam, like something more recent, like Sonic Frontiers, like all the boss battles are big grand spectacles and everything, but I think the first like major boss battle in that game kind of set the pace for the whole game. And you can play this if you want to on there, or if you want to like look at it later. Look up a song called Undefeatable and just listen to that. And that's the first boss theme. It's great. It's high pace. It's like fucking almost death metal, and it's great. It sets the tone. Yeah, it sets the tone. It's awesome. You feel like you're supersonic. It's awesome.
And what was that one called?
It's called Undefeatable.
Undefeatable. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I will say too, as far as like, all right, never mind. I don't want to jump ahead. I don't know how you want to jump into these topics, Sam, because we have a schedule tonight.
No. And I think what we're gonna do, Ant-Man and the Wasp: QUANTUMANIA was gonna be something that I initially wanted to talk about, but I think it really just deserves a quick little hiccup. We can speak on that and get that out the way, because I don't even want to go into a movie review. There's discussion available for it, and I think there'll be a fitting point for it. I'll probably create a post in our Facebook group, which you can find by clicking that QR code right there in the corner, right above Jeff. You click that, that'll take you to our Facebook group. We have a lot of open discussions there, and maybe I'll come back later and do a small little blurb on, like a full spoiler review. But the biggest thing that I wanted to cover with Ant-Man and the Wasp was simply the large separation between the audience score and the critic score. There was something similar with Eternals, and these two movies are the lowest rated movies in the MCU. And I'm really looking at this movie wondering, are we finally at that point of true superhero fatigue where people are just tired? Where look
at the money.
And the money's definitely going to be there. I mean, as long as they make comic book movies, I'm going to go see them. I'm going to continue to go see comic book movies because it's always going to provide me a moment of escapism, and it's going to allow me to enjoy the things that I enjoyed as a kid. It's almost like guaranteed nostalgia. Having grown up reading comics, having grown up watching cartoons, anime, except playing video games. I mean, I still do all of that stuff today. So whenever I can see that transition to another medium, we were talking the other day about taking anime and trying to do, live action. Which ones deserve live action? Anytime you can get that, make something that's fantasy and make it more real, I think that's always going to resonate with a certain group of people. It's always going to resonate with me, and I'm going to enjoy it. But I do think there's definitely a very spoiled society that doesn't know how to enjoy things anymore. And
the audience score was high, so the audience enjoyed it. The only people who are fatigued by superhero movies are critics who didn't expect to have to like understand comic books. They got into it so they could see shit like Bridges of Madison County and Steel Magnolias,
the
and
piano
all that kind
teacher,
of stuff. And it's like you telling me like if you 65 years old and you really like love cinema, and you telling me I got to go see a third Ant-Man movie, which means I either have already seen 2 Ant-Man movies, or I have to go watch 2 Ant-Man movies to watch this third one. Either way, I got to watch 3 Ant-Man movies in order to talk about this movie. That's not what I signed up for.
That
so
was not the plan.
The superhero fatigue, in my opinion, I feel like that's a secret plot by the Society of Movie Critics to try to get less superhero movies made because they want to see other stuff. Now, I do think that it is kind of a fair argument that studios are not investing into some of these smaller, more independent films, seeing different types of stories, because the reality is most comic book movie fans are cinema fans as a whole. So we would also go see these other movies to some of the smaller ones that are not just like tied to a franchise, but the movie studios are gonna always go for the sure thing. So that's going to be hot actor, hot director, or existing IP that you already know your audience is invested in. It's unfortunate, but it's like put the blame in the right place. Don't blame comic book movies. Like we've been waiting years. Like Ant-Man been around since 50 something, 40 something.
Yeah, Ant-Man's not
like,
a new character. He didn't just get created with Paul Rudd. So
right. So I'm not with the I don't believe the fatigue lie. I think that's just they just don't want to go see no more of these movies, and that's fine. And
go ahead.
No, I think there are some people who are tired of them and they just don't go see them. But it's like Ant-Man, the franchise has brought in $1 billion between 3 movies. It's hard. I'm hard. Like they tired of bad movies. They tired of, so like if you DC, you're not getting the benefit of the doubt. And so, you know, that's where you have a what's the name? Black Adam. But that's more because DC has a track record. And the smarter the audience is getting, understanding the business behind things, they're not going to see things anymore just because people are flying fast and jumping high and fighting each other. They want to know that like there's some smarts and continuity behind it. But yeah, I mean, some of it is kind of like, all right, do we need this? Like I kind of looked at Eternals like that, but it's also just like they did that for something that's probably going to come back, and that's going to end up being Thor 2, the Dark World of whatever this phase is, and we're going to be like, oh, okay, I get it. Maybe it didn't need a whole movie, but
something that could have been. I mean, given after having seen the movie, the connections that are there are important. We get some introduction characters and things like that. And I think the biggest issue that people aren't really, I don't know if they're not willing to admit, aren't able to admit, or just don't see it. You're talking about the Ant-Man movie having followed Endgame and Infinity War, you know, 2 of the biggest buildup in cinematic history. To have to follow those movies, everything is going to be a little pale in comparison. But if you take Ant-Man and the Wasp, QUANTUMANIA, and you match that up to Iron Man 3, they're right on track. It's exactly what it's supposed to be if it came out in the appropriate phase. And if you look at it from the standpoint of where it's supposed to be, then it makes a lot more sense. But if you look at Ant-Man and the Wasp as the 28th movie, then it's kind of like, okay, yeah, it may not be as good as the 5th or the 12th or the 15th, because those, you already had something invested in that. Since they now have to give you something new and they're starting over, you really have to look at this movie as like 3 or 4. You can't look at this movie as 28 and compare it the same way as you would a number 28 in a series. And I think that's probably been the biggest disconnect for people who are actually watching the movies, or like you said, the people who are having to critique these films, because they're not going in with the intent to sit back, kick up, have some popcorn, and have a good time on a Friday night or a Saturday night or something. This is their job. This is what they're being paid to do, and they're looking at it with, you know, they're not able to watch it through rose-colored glasses and try to enjoy themselves. They're looking for the nuance, trying to pick it apart, looking for unnecessary inconsistencies just so that they have talking points. Because I can't, if all I have to say is good things about everything I watch, people are going to like question my ability to critique. And the person who's hard on everything tends to be viewed as being a little bit more particular, and therefore somehow that translates to them being a better critic. But if you just hate everything you watch, I can't really trust what you got to say about anything either.
Right.
So But no, David, you had something you wanted to chime in a second ago. What you got?
I had lost my train of thought. I'll be real. I'll be 100% real with you. I don't know what I was about to say.
Well, can I just follow that up then? I think
Certainly.
one of the other things is with critics, you just have to find a critic that you like. I don't read all critics. I pretty much just read Wesley Morrison, where he used to write for Grantland. I think he writes for New York Times right now.
Mhm.
But he is he does not like Marvel movies for the most part. But he will go into the movie and say, okay, this is what it was trying to accomplish. This is what I'm seeing as the references, this, that, and the third. I did not like this, but you can tell when he's talking about what works and what doesn't work when he's watching a movie. And you can kind of go into it and say, well, he doesn't like those things, but at least he's describing these things in a way where if you like those things, then like it sounds like the perfect movie for you. But he's not one of those critics that's just like, oh, this sucks. Like I'm not looking for your opinion. I'm looking for your critique, which means you're looking at the art and you're talking about what does and doesn't work, what is and isn't right, what could have been done better, et cetera, et cetera. Not just, I didn't like this. Now, sometimes that's going to come out with, this movie is bad. But some people like bad movies. Like, you're going to make a critic sit down and watch something like Scary Movie. That's going to get bad reviews probably. Yeah. But you know what? Did you watch that movie how I'm going to watch that movie? Did you roll you something up?
Probably not. Probably not.
Did you pour yourself a little drinky drink? Or were you in there with a notepad?
And that makes all the difference. That makes all the difference. And like I say, oftentimes, because they are there, this is the job. They're not in there attempting to enjoy. It is work. And anytime you are working when you want to enjoy, it can be a little challenging. Doesn't always.
But there is some stuff they enjoy. They just, everybody has their own taste. But like, you have to find a way, I think, as a critic to balance. This is my taste, and this is like an actual critique of what I'm seeing on the screen.
Right now, as
far as sometimes those scores, like, those scores turn into like, this is my personal opinion, just because I'm paid to get. I'm paid, and I can give my personal opinion, but it's like, all in all, it's not really the space for it.
Right. I will say, when you were talking about find a critic you like, I try to find a critic that I see similar taste. One of the things that works for me, and even when I get an opinion of a movie from somebody, you know what I'm saying? If I saw 5 movies, they saw the same 5 movies, and they liked 4 of them, and I didn't, we don't have the same taste in movies. So if they say, "Oh man, this was a great movie," I kind of feel like, you liked it. We don't really share similar tastes. I'm probably not going to like it as much. Doesn't make it a bad movie. It's just not for me.
Right.
And oftentimes, and especially like even when we talk about some of the TV shows and how they relate, and that's interesting because we'll be getting into a TV show later that took me a minute to get through, despite all the goodness. But it's like, you take something like a Miss Marvel, which is a teenage MCU affiliate, and people are expecting Civil War out of Miss Marvel, and that's you can't put the expectation. So the target audience, the people who are like, "Oh, what is the point of this? I don't enjoy this." Well, it's not for you. It's not for you. But Little Brown Girl,
and it's the first time that it's not for you, and it's the first time in your life in geek culture that it's not for you. And you just don't, and it's multiple things that's not for you.
All at
not
once.
For you.
All
Black
at
Panther,
once.
not for you. Miss Marvel, not for you. Moon Girl, Devil Dinosaur, not for you. And you don't know how to handle it.
It's just like, there's nothing for me to watch. No, there's plenty to watch. There's plenty to watch. It's just not what you are used to watching. So, and
also examine why it's not for you.
Right.
Yeah, some self-reflection might be good with that. And you know what? If you feel some kind of way about that, check yourself. Don't argue with your mom, but don't argue with me. So, David, talk to me about music and its connection for you to geek culture as a whole. I know we have the influence of movies, we have the influence of TV shows, video games, but how do you think those things impact geek culture?
So that's kind of a broad question, really.
Attack it however you like.
So I can only really attack it from like my perspective.
That's the
so-
best perspective. that's the best perspective. Don't attack it from mine. I'll give you mine.
Right.
I know what you got.
So let's say for anime, right? So here's a fun fact about good old Hatman here, right? If your opening song cannot hook me like right then and there, chances are I'm probably not going to watch the anime.
Yeah.
Or at least not right then and there.
It is I'll say I am actually quite shocked how often I watch intros.
Yeah.
Unless I'm like if I'm trying to catch up on something, I may skip intro just to get to the meat. But generally speaking, when I'm watching my anime, we gotta rock that opening. Right. And I'm feeling some kind of way about the closing too, because a lot of times they give you that preview for the next episode, and I'll sit through that closing song knowing it's 2 minutes I could skip by, but no, we're gonna let that closing theme play.
That's a whole 2 minutes that I could have been watching the next episode.
Right.
But nah. So like for instance, classic Yu Yu Hakusho's opening theme, Smile Bomb, right? Classic. It's catchy. You know this, you know the words, like you see the whole sequence, everybody running and doing the thing and all that shit, and it gets you hype, right? And it's great. And that's like half the reason why I really, really love Yu Yu Hakusho. The other half is like literally everything else about Yu Yu Hakusho, but that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. But then on the opposite end of the spectrum, you have something like fucking Boruto. God, which it's Boruto.
So the Boruto main theme isn't a bot. That's
so
like a jam?
It has a couple. Well, so the ending themes I think are stronger than the openings. But there's one opening in particular for Boruto that I'm just like, this is trash. and not necessarily like trash as like the song is bad. It's more so like it doesn't vibe what's going on in the show at the moment. Like it's what's the name? I think it's called It's All in the Game. And it's like the song itself is fine, but like coupled that with Boruto, and it's boring. It's so boring. I can't.
Dreamy Journey is the only one I know from Boruto.
Yeah, like, and to be completely honest with you, like Baton Road is probably the best it's going to be for Boruto, which is like the first opening. Like at least for me, the endings like there are way stronger. Especially I was just listening to it.
Keep running.
No, Sayonara Moontown. That's it.
Ooh.
That one is so good, and honestly, I'm actually kind of shocked that's not an opening. And then like the other one on that side of the spectrum is Attack on Titan. The song Red Swan. It's a good song. But it doesn't really capture what's going on in Attack on Titan versus like something like fucking The Rumbling, which is like the best theme that Attack on Titans had in ever. Which really kind of encapsulates the intensity of the series. Red Swan ain't it. It's not. It will never be it. It's not him. It will never be him.
That's an interesting point about the animes and like the theme songs, because like my struggle with getting into anime has been well documented on this channel. I found some like weird niche ones that I feel like they're like all right, but like it's never the big ones that people be talking about.
Right.
So, and I do agree. It's just like, yeah, the theme songs definitely get me into it, because I definitely watched like 7 episodes of Cannon Busters before I realized this show ain't great, That song in the beginning, every time that song queued up,
The
I was like,
opening
this
and
joint jamming.
yeah, the opening and the ending of Cannon Busters is fucking fire. But this Cannon Busters itself, it's
mid.
it's alright. I watched it. I
Right.
enjoyed what I watched. I probably won't watch it again, but
I felt obligated to watch it.
yeah, I felt a sense of duty to watch that.
And I want to be clear that I felt obligated to watch that.
Yeah.
But like you said, I absolutely understand how like you struggle through that episode, and then that theme comes on again, and you're like, okay, it ain't that bad.
It wasn't that bad. I could go through another episode.
And like you said, it's not until you get like almost through it, and you're like, man,
you're like, what is this show about?
Right? Yeah. But then like,
I was like, she's a robot now.
Right. So she's a robot. Wait. Okay. So his arm. Is he immortal, or you can just regrow limbs? Okay. Yeah. Wait. What?
And then before you can figure it out, boom, the bop is back on. So
right.
that's the hustle.
They got to keep you. They got to keep you confused.
Yeah. But then like you have like and excuse me if I'm just kind of like bouncing between like genres and shit. So if you move into like video games, right? Like I was saying before with Sonic, like Undefeatable kind of sets the pace for like how boss battles are going to be in Sonic Frontiers, which is great because Sonic Frontiers is great, and the music. Sonic rarely does music bad, so
Sonic music is so good.
Sonic music is more often than not really good, and like on the worst end of the spectrum, it's just okay, right?
Sonic music is in a lot of other music, and people don't realize how much Sonic is in other music.
Yes.
You change the tempo a little bit, speed it up, slow it down, pitch it up, pitch it down. And that is the Sonic theme.
Yeah.
This whole rap song that you love, that's Sonic.
Yeah. Like you can look at the worst Sonic game and it still has fire ass music. And you'll play like I have put an ungodly amount of hours into Sonic 06, but the music is really good, so I kind of don't mind it. Like there's something there to keep me going, right? Like I'll be sitting like I'll be the first one to tell you that Sonic 06 is trash, but Sonic's theme in Sonic 06 is fucking great. Like, what do you mean? It's also like you cannot tell me that his world does not go hard. And that's just talking about like specific like character themes. But if you're talking like overall themes, like what's a good example? Mass Effect 3.
Yes.
Yeah, Mass Effect 3 has a really good like soundtrack. Like you can't like really like name anything off of it.
I was about to say that has a good score.
It has a good score, yes. But it's still more like the score of the game really keeps you invested. Like especially that first 10-20 minutes of that game when Shepard's in the Normandy and he's watching the shuttles kind of take off with all these people in it, and then he's seeing a Reaper shoot them down out of the sky. And as the music is kind of swelling, you hear the Reaper like call, like, you know, as things are happening in the scene, and it syncs along with the music. It's beautiful. It's great, and it keeps you invested because that's a powerful ass moment with a powerful ass sound. In this,
that is actually one of the moments that causes frisson, and there is actually like a full psychological effect of the music. Whenever you hear somebody talk about like they get goosebumps, some things are designed to create that. And like when you talk about those horns playing the way they play because of the Reapers, that sound kind of overpowering the actual music is designed to give you that feeling of impending doom.
Yeah.
When you're watching what's happening while listening to that,
while the music is also
it sucks you into that game and makes you feel something you didn't expect to feel at the time you felt it. So it has a very immediate effect, and that sticks with you. And that is perhaps one of the best examples. Just thinking about that right there.
Like to this day, I can still hear that in the back of my head.
Yeah.
Just that,
as soon as you said it, I knew. I was like, "Ooh, yeah, I remember that."
It's so good. It's so good. But that's just how powerful music can be in any given like medium. Another example, Persona, right? Persona 5 specifically. Persona 5 has kind of like this acid jazz kind of vibe to its soundtrack. But there's like two specific songs in general that really kind of hit home like certain aspects of the game. Like when you're in Persona 5, when you go through a dungeon, you're basically what you're doing is going through and kind of scoping out the dungeon to get to the end, to get to the end point, and then you send like a calling card to the person's dungeon, the dungeon's like master.
Okay.
That sets off this whole thing where you have to like take your infiltration route, go to that last room that you found while you were scouting out the dungeon, and in like while you're doing that, like when you're about to go fight the boss, well, you have to go through the whole dungeon, by the way, mind you. Which is fine. It's fine because you did all this before. You unlocked all the doors. You did everything that you needed to do. It's basically just go to the end and go fight the boss. But while you're doing all of that, the song changes from like the standard dungeon theme to Life Will Change. And Life Will Change is such a good song. Like, it's so you know that we out there. It, like, you hear that throughout the whole time that you're running through this dungeon. Every other song has changed to this song.
Oh wow.
Which kind of tells you that you are here for a reason. You are here to take down the boss and claim the treasure and get out. That's your goal. And Life Will Change will play through that whole thing up until you get to the boss. And then there's go ahead, Sam.
Well, I was gonna say, I was checking to see if you were about to say, because you said there's two songs in Persona 5. Is this the other one you're about to tell?
This is the other one.
What's that
one? Well, I guess it's there. In this one, it's two different songs actually.
Okay.
But they kind of like, it's like a part 1 and part 2 for this particular song. It's called Awakening and then Willpower. And these happen at very, very specific moments when the characters awaken their personas. Okay. So like when they're having like this whole reflecting speech, or like the enemy is like goading them on or something like that, you'll hear Awakening, and in Awakening's song kind of goes like bum, 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 bum. So like it's saying things like that impending doom, like that it's a critical state. But then once they start awakening to their persona, Awakening changes into Willpower, and Willpower is it's a perfect thing for somebody coming into their own power, right?
So like that. So you have battle music, and then you have boss music, and then you have fight music.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to describe, but it's kind of perfect how they do this kind of switch as far as songs go. Because
I think the gamers who watch and will listen, they'll know the difference when you start a game and you have a character. When your character levels up, there's always like some audible notification that you've leveled up.
Yeah.
And having that music, if you're in the middle of when you're going through the dungeon, that's your exploration point, and you're unlocking the doors, you're finding where you need to go. When you get to the room where the boss is and that music changes, you know that it's about to go down.
Yes.
So that is your boss music. That's how you know that the fight is coming. And you go from like that normal regular jazz because you're just hanging out in the hallways and in the dungeon. And when you get to that door and you walk through and that music changes, you know it's about to go down.
Yeah.
Now, when your character has that power up in the midst of the boss battle, you can't stop the boss music because you're still in the boss fight.
Well, no. Well, usually the character's persona will happen before the boss battle happens. So like it'll be like another instance. Gotcha. But it'll be something like you have to go save them from the dungeon, but you get caught and there's no escape. But then like the boss character will like tease the character that's about to wake to their persona, and then they'll get sick of it, and then like they'll make a contract with their persona, and then there's an explosion of power, and then like you fucking like you're sitting on a goddamn ghost motorcycle now. So which is an actual thing that happens in Persona 5. Like you just awaken into a ghost motorcycle, and that's your persona. You ride a ghost motorcycle. It's great.
Well, there you go. We're gonna bring on one of our favorites. We got Miss Linda here with us this evening.
Hello.
What is going on? So we are talking music.
I've
Music
been
in the.
I've been listening to him going on and on in the other room. So
Cool.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so now she's about to come on and tell us what it really means. So everything he said, okay, whatever. Here's what you need to listen.
Damn. Okay. Shit.
But
I
see,
mean, with him like just completely going off on Persona and like Sonic. I told him whenever you were saying it earlier, like, hey, come up with stuff to talk. I'm like, David. I looked at David and I'm like, you're just gonna talk about Persona and Sonic.
Because they're like the best examples.
they're really good examples.
I mean, I told him, I'm like, I know you love like Mass Effect and Pokemon, but they don't have the kind of music.
It don't
Like they have great music, but they don't have the kind of music that like Sonic.
Because like,
especially like the older Sonics.
So and actually, I kind of want to piggyback off that real quick, and then I'll pass it off. So for something like Mass Effect, well, not so much more. It's more Pokemon than Mass Effect. Pokemon has good ambient themes, like just I'm in a town and it's peaceful and blah blah blah, whatever, right? But then they'll have like the one like champion theme, which is like really good. Versus something like a Persona game or a Sonic game where I can point to the whole soundtrack and it's just like, yeah, all of this shit is good. It's great. Like I will sit here, I will put this on in my car when I'm driving to work. That's how good it is. Yeah.
Oh, we have a little game David and I like to play when we're in the car for a long time or neither of us want to feel like talking. I will go through like Amazon Music and because I'm a heathen and I don't use Spotify. I'll go through Amazon Music and I'll have it just cycle through random video game music or for more fun, random Sonic the Hedgehog music from just all kinds of Sonic games. David can usually, aside from the few that I know are specific, that I know he hasn't played, he can usually name exactly what the name of the song is, what game it's from, and the level it's from.
Now that is a challenging game.
So when we do the
game right there.
When we do the generic video game one, I just go through like a list of like generic video game music or whatever, and it'll play through like random stuff. And I'm like, okay, usually I can I'm the one who can see it and he can't because usually he's driving. Right. So and he's better at naming stuff off like that. Like I can recognize stuff, but it's difficult for me to connect names sometimes with faces, songs, nouns in general. So we'll do that and yeah, I'll be like, okay, David, I know you're gonna know this one. You really like this game. Give it a second to start. And then he'll usually get it after a while, whatever. Sometimes it's not, but it just depends on the song. So it's fun though.
So do you yourself are there any specific games that have soundtracks that resonate with you, or are there any
I guess I tend to play a lot of single player stuff. And so I love things that have to have like a really good ambient soundtrack that is something that is memorable. Or catchy. I guess it's part of being raised with too many competitive siblings in the 90s and 2000s before online gaming was like a really popular thing. So my childhood was not like Call of Duty lobbies and stuff like that. That was like my late teens and 20s.
Gotcha.
Having like 9-year-olds saying that they're gonna like find my mom and like I'm like, okay, sure. But anyway, it's too early in the thing for me to be cursing and be lewd, so I'm gonna censor that a little bit. Anyway, so I tend to really attach myself to stuff like that has a really strong kind of ambient soundtrack, usually something that's not super long that loops but you're not tired of listening to, like in the old school like SNES RPGs and things like that. Like you listen to like God, you can pull out pretty much anything. My favorite is Illusion of Gaia. As far as like overall games and all, I'm just using it as an example, but a more popular example would probably be Super Mario RPG or Chrono Trigger. All that music is iconic. Like you can play, if you've played those games growing up, even just a couple times, you're going to remember those songs. And something else that I really love, so an example of something more modern would be like Minecraft. You play some of those earlier ambient Minecraft music and immediately it's just like, you're just taken back to how it was like when you first started playing the game, you know.
Now, Illusion of Gaia is that's one of the Super Nintendo games, right?
Yes.
And you're saying like that soundtrack, just that background music.
Yeah, it's
whole, okay.
It's kind of an example. None of the songs are, if you actually break them down, none of them are super long, but you never really realize that they're repeating, if that makes sense.
No. I absolutely understand that. And having that kind of that 8-bit.
And it doesn't even have to be. It doesn't have to be like the 8-bit or 16-bit style. It's just because like same thing. Look at Minecraft. It's mostly like piano. It's more modern stuff because you can do that now. It's more about the composition than the sound of it, if that makes sense.
Very melodic. Yes.
Yes.
No, I absolutely.
But catchy, but not annoying.
Right.
So another example I have would be like
Muzak, not elevator music, but Muzak.
Terraria is a good example.
Okay.
Let me see. Or stuff that's easy to like meme that like got like really popular. Like you have stuff from like from like Undertale, Megalomania, stuff like that. It's you know, obviously there's certain Zelda things like that, but typically, like I said, it's that stuff that just kind of like sits in the background and digs its way into your brain. And for me, at least, I associate memories very strongly with sound and sense, like smelling. So more than even visual, like and I assume that's similar for a lot of other people as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, and that's kind of the thing here is like, you know, there are sounds that stick with us, and you hear it and you associate that sound with something specific. And for like gamers especially, like I love when I hear, and it's one of those things where it's like you can connect with people. I might be standing by and then they get a notification on their phone and they have like the Mario 1-up sound. And it's like that's such a distinctive sound.
Yeah.
You know exactly what that is. And so immediately I'm like, oh, you a gamer? And they're like, oh no, it was a cool sound. I'm like, oh
yeah.
You know, it's like I wanted to get excited because I thought there was some kinship there. But even in that moment, like we'd still have that to talk about, and the fact that they know that sound and it resonates with them and it stands out so much for them. It's still a moment, and it usually ends up becoming a talking point. And again, it's that audio memory that you're talking about. So yeah.
So I think that having a soundtrack that really sticks out well, that you can catch on like pretty quickly and all that, I think is really important for at least game memories. Like I'll use Mass Effect as an example, or even Halo. Like, so Halo is a little different from Mass Effect, at least because most people recognize that beginning, like, whoa, that whole thing, right?
Yeah, that chanting.
Because it is an iconic thing that sticks out.
Yeah.
If you were to play just a random snippet from any other part in that song or any other Halo song, people probably, even if they had played the crap out of Halo, wouldn't be like, I don't know what that is, or they had to listen to it for a while. And similar with Mass Effect, when we play the game, like when we'll play our little card game with guessing songs and everything, I'll play stuff from Mass Effect and Dave will be like, I have no idea what that is.
Yeah.
Or it takes him like halfway through the song because it's not really something that sticks out. Now, there are other things in that game that do make it great. So I'm not saying that if you don't have that, it's a bad game. However, it does help. So like you have games, other kind of like that thing that sits in the background, but it buries its way into your ears, into your brain, would be like Binding of Isaac, another game I play way too much of. I think I calculated it the other day. It's close to 650 hours if I round up.
Wow.
Between the like, I don't know, David, how many did I say? 5 or 7, something like that. Different consoles that I own it on. Yeah, well, not the expansions. I own it on different consoles.
Right. No, we've streamed it. I've watched. I've seen it. It's
so I'm missing it on. I'm only actually. It's easier for me to name which consoles I don't have it on, and that's Wii U, and that was a digital download. I never got around to it before they shut down the eShop on the Wii U. Sad. And Xbox. I do have it on PlayStation 4. I technically don't have it on PlayStation 5, but you can, it's the same thing. There's literally no difference. It's not like you get better graphics or anything on PS5. I just play my PS4 version on PS5. But and I have physical copies. I have a physical copy on the Switch, which is like my pride and joy, because it's like the one that, like the launch one that came out, not the re-releases of it later, like their other stocks. Now pre-order, I guess.
Now that game Do you think that that song has burrowed its way in because of the frequency of you playing it, and the music is not so annoying that it takes you away, or are
No,
you saying also that the music is inviting and you would like it, like it
it's
qualifies as?
it's more that it gives me a positive association with the game. And the weird thing is the if I were to hum just a random bar from one of the Binding of Isaac songs, do you know which one I'd end up humming? The one from the basement level for the original release of Binding of Isaac, not Afterbirth,
Wow,
not in the expansions, the original, because they changed the soundtrack
really?
between the original release and when they did when they did Rebirth, and then Afterbirth Plus, and Repentance. So with the multiple things, the music all stayed the same with those, but whenever they did the relaunch of it, where they revamped a whole bunch of stuff and they redid the graphics and a lot of the mechanics and everything else. But yeah, I can tell you that because I love the music. You can ask David. This was very early on in our relationship, but I lamented so hard that they had changed up the music, and it's still a similar melody, but it's something with the way that it flows is so fantastic. And really gives me fond memories of, honestly, the original one and the re-release. Even though it's a different game and doesn't have the same music, I still make that association with it.
Okay, that's so. For the games, like some of the things that come to mind. So I've gotten into like lo-fi, and I find that I like taking some of the things from a nostalgic standpoint, but seeing the updated twist with the lo-fi remixes and mashups and things like that.
It's familiarity. It's that nostalgia that everyone is like craving right now.
And Legend of Zelda lo-fi is phenomenal.
You'd probably like the music in Cadence of Hyrule.
Cadence of Hyrule. Okay.
It's a spin-off from Crypt and the Necrodancer, which is one of my favorites, and that's another really good one where like the music is like, but the music is also the main, like one of the main parts of the game. That's the premise, is you can play it without it, but you're supposed to move and attack with the beat of the music. And so if you don't constantly move or be attacking, then you lose like your gold multiplier, and sometimes damage multiplier if you have a kind of weapon that affects that. David actually introduced me to Crypt the Necrodancer. And then Cadence of Hyrule. Cadence is the name of the main character in Crypt the Necrodancer, and it just puts her in the Kingdom of Hyrule, and it's a Zelda crossover, which is very interesting. Cool. And Crypt the Necrodancer is on pretty much every console, but it has exclusive content on the Switch. And obviously Cadence of Hyrule is only on the Switch. But yeah, another good example for music-based games that, once again, it just kind of hits the right way, is Dave, what's the other one I play a lot of where you kill everyone?
Party Hard.
Party Hard. There it is. I told you I don't remember names very well. Party Hard. It's great, but once again, it's music-based. But you think about other things, whether it's music or sound snippets, and they're kind of universally remembered, and they all have pretty much everyone who gets a reaction out of it, or gives a reaction to it, has a strong reaction to it, whether positive or negative. For instance, everyone knows the Final Fantasy fanfare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Pretty much everyone knows.
That was literally the first one I talked about, because when I said that transition from like just traveling to boss battle, when it makes that jump, that's one of the most memorable things.
A lot of people will recognize like music from Doom as well. That's another one too.
Yeah, actually.
Obviously you have your older stuff like Donkey Kong or whatever, but then you have things like Earthbound, or even still another good one of ambient music that really hits, Skyrim. Yeah, especially whatever an enemy is nearby. It's a memeable sound, and people love it.
Yeah. So Jeff, even though you don't necessarily have the same games, I know we could even talk about the score on the Tiny Hut soundtrack, because
no, that's actually what I was gonna say. It's like interesting because obviously, like, it's well documented that I had a very different gaming experience And so I was growing up playing like a lot of Madden, and like we played some stuff. One of my favorite games actually was Aladdin on Super Nintendo, and I really like how they kind of did the 8-bit version of a lot of those songs from the movie.
Back when movie video games were actually good.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah.
Like the whole new world, just like that easy level of like you just riding on the carpet, just trying to collect jewels and stuff. I mean, I have a lot of fond memories with like my cousins playing those games, but a lot of what we was playing was like NBA Jam and, you know, NBA Live before 2K was even like a thing. Madden, Tony Hawk obviously is my favorite game. And so it was funny because a lot of those early games, like in the 90s, we would actually just play with the sound down because you don't need to like hear anything in those games really, except people saying boom shakalaka or Madden just being like boom. But it's like after a while, so we would actually spend a lot of time playing video games, listening to like music. So we would just put albums on loud and be playing like, you know, the new Jay-Z, the new Outkast, the new whatever. And so my musical association with a lot of video games is really like listening to Life and Times Volume 3 over and over and over again, or even like a game like Twisted Metal. We will play that, but just be playing like music and our own music in the background. And I think that's when it started transitioning to having video games with like real, quote unquote, real music in it. And, you know, Tony Hawk was one of those ones where it was like that soundtrack. The first one was very hit or miss because it was like some hip hop, some like ska reggae stuff, some very like heavy metal stuff, but you couldn't like customize like the soundtrack in the first one. So we would just be like restarting levels to get like songs that we like to skate to for like 2 minutes. So actually one of my songs for our playlist is a song from Tony Hawk 1 that I remembered. So yeah, and you know, so I think there is like a huge Need for Speed 2 did have a lot of the racing games had that too. And then even when like Xbox had the thing where you could like plug in a USB with your own music on it. So it's like
with your Zoom player.
Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting because we just had like I had so many more experiences. Like I have like musical connections with playing video games, but it's not like video game scores per se. I do remember like Sonic having a fire score, the X-Men game on Sega, just for the couple of levels that I was actually able to beat was cool.
That one was really good.
And then there was one more I was thinking of. I just like Sonic. I mean, and then I actually ended up reading like a whole thing about how like Michael Jackson was involved in like the Sonic 3 soundtrack and stuff.
Unofficially. I think it's finally been confirmed.
No,
unofficially.
Actually, no. That it was officially confirmed by Yuji Naka because of something. I don't know. Somebody tweeted out something.
It was a random tweet. Like
it was a random tweet, and then Yuji Naka just out of nowhere he's like, "Oh, can we talk about that now?" I'm like, what do you mean? Can we talk about that now? So
it's like like some family secret.
Like it was the worst kept secret.
So Jeff, I can understand where you come from, where you play like your own music while you're playing games. I actually have done that a lot. I think I first started doing that with WoW back in like 2007. Sam, I want to say I bought WoW from you. Or you were
that was
I bought WoW, and I bought a random season of Star Trek Next Generation as well.
There was, I think you started work. you applied like a couple of months after that?
I think so, because I started working in like May of that year. And then, or no, I bought it later. It was after, no, maybe it was before, because I know I was working at Wendy's at the time, and I did GameStop while working Wendy's. I remember I did both.
Right.
But anyway, yeah. So I got WoW, and I used to play Nightwish, a lot of Nightwish and a lot of Within Temptation. So if you guys don't know what those are, it's operatic metal. while playing that. Kind of has like almost a fantasy twist to it as well. Worked really well. So when I hear those a lot of times now, I still love them. When I hear a lot of those now, I have those strong associations. There's a specific what was the name of it?
Is there a song from Nightwish? Is there a specific song from Nightwish?
Oh no, it's just different random whatever I could like torrent at the time.
Right.
Because it's
whatever LimeWire had.
This is all mostly stuff that's based out of Europe, so it's not like I can just go into a music store even back then and pick up a CD
Right.
or a cassette tape of their music. It's something I had to torrent or down. It was after like WinMX and LimeWire and stuff.
Right.
So it was more of a torrenting thing. But yeah, it was whatever I could snag here and there based off of what I did actually download off like WinMX and all that back in the day. There is a specific album. When I was playing League of Legends, I did that as well. When I was playing by myself, there's a specific album from In This Moment that came out around the time. It was their newest album, I think, at the time when I was playing, I think. Or it was just what I was catching up with. Ooh, which one was it? It wasn't Ritual. I think it was it? I think it was Rise of the Blood Legion.
Rise of the Blood Legion.
That's their tour, I think. But it's Blood, I think, is the name of the article. Or is it not the name of the album? The album was Blood. And In This Moment is a alternative metal. So that album in particular, every time I hear that I do have very strong associations with not just League of Legends, but different points I would be at in the game, like in the match I was playing, depending on what song I was at. Because most matches, I usually only played against bots because I hate people. And I'm already good. My lifespan's already been cut short enough working retail for 10 years. Yeah, you understand me there. So I had it was a very kind of formulaic way that I would attack it. Each level, because I usually never mid. I always got stuck. I usually got stuck top solo because I always had the jungler that was on there. I'm like, why are you jungling? It's a bot match. Maybe I guess you're practicing, but it's
force a habit.
Match.
Force a habit. I mean, that's how you do it. Now, did you find that you were able to? Which of the songs from Blood, was there a particular song that got you through the battle, or the one that hypes you up the most?
Oh God, I guess it would actually be like not the opening song. I always skipped it because usually they have like an opening thing that's just like it's like a minute long and it's just like an intro. And they kind of have that throughout some of their albums, just in general. They'll have a beginning song like that sometimes, and they'll sometimes have a random song in the middle. And those I usually skip or delete. But as actually Blood is the first the first full song on the album, and that's kind of, I guess, my hype song, or like what I associate with the beginning of it.
Okay.
And it's the lyrics mean nothing as far as like my association with the game, but it's just the way everything sounds. So yeah, like that's something I can definitely associate with. I have certain things. It's actually a similar way that I tackle art. If I'm working on a specific piece, to get like whenever I was in college, and then when I do every now and then I'll still do art. Like I'll do art. I'll draw something. I did
the art today.
I did the art today.
That's how it is sometimes.
For that kind of stuff, though, I usually, if I have something that's being inspired by a song, I'll loop the one song. If I'm working on that piece, I play that song on loop.
No, I can absolutely.
And it's just
see that.
it's sitting in the background in my mind, keeping me in that headspace. And what's funny is that I did this. I was doing a piece in college for my drawing 2 class. We had to do like 5 like oversized pieces. I ended up doing 4.5, but I also made a kimono for a friend of mine in class, and my teacher was like, "That's amazing." I'll let that count as one of your pieces, and you can work on it in class. I'm like, cool.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So but yeah, there was one of the pieces that I did. It was my big angel piece. I know I put it up on Facebook before. That thing went through so many transitions, but the biggest thing I wanted to try out and see if the feeling of the piece would change if at a certain point in the drawing of it, if I changed the song I was looping. So I had one song looping that was one type, style, sound, whatever, and then I changed it halfway through, and my first part of it was very soft because it was that kind of song. It was something a little more melodic, a little more of that kind of operatic, whatever. It was probably, I believe it was a Nightwish song or something like that. Okay. And then I switched it to something that was a little heavier, and then a little faster as well. And I actually got frustrated with that piece. I got tired of working on it, and I got really frustrated. Part of it was I didn't like a lot of the comments I was getting from my art teacher. She was the piece is just like a fallen angel, just on like a little like island or whatever. Right. And my art teacher was trying to convince me to make her like her actual body size bigger to more represent my own. I didn't want that. I didn't really like the way I looked.
So you should be free to make what you want to make.
Exactly. And personally, I was still very unsure. Like I was very unsteady about my own appearance at the time. And I've always been self-conscious about my weight. So I'm like, I didn't want to do that. Like, it's like whenever I make a create your own character in a video game, I don't like, number one, I can't make her my size. I've never been able to make her even close to my size because I don't make those kinds of sliders, which is ridiculous because now is a different story. But back like 10 years ago, there's no reason why I shouldn't have been able to make a character my size. You can put your slider all the way to the end and she's like maybe a size 12. I'm like, okay, I guess that's the biggest women get. I
mean, but they've also like completely screwed up hair, skin textures, faces, noses, lips. I mean, they've come a long way in that regard.
Yeah, these are such like, it's such an easy thing though. It's like just let me make someone more voluptuous, like please. And you can do that with men too. Like if you want, especially if someone who is comfortable in themselves and they really want to insert themselves into the game. Also, I believe it would help with their body. If you have body image issues, it might help you with that too, because you're seeing it all the time and you're getting more used to it where you don't typically see yourself when you're just walking around and existing. So it can be a litlittle jarring, from time to time if you don't like that. But anyway.
So the teacher was
she kept telling me, oh, make it, because I hadn't done a lot with the coloring yet. The biggest part was I had like kind of a rainbow kind of sunset in the background, and the biggest feature of it was that and the wings. I was doing a large wingspan with very detailed feathers. This is all in pastels, chalk like pastels, not oil pastels.
The Led Zeppelin Icarus with the wings way out kind of thing.
Kind of, sort of, yeah. I'll say I know I've got it on Facebook. But there was so she wanted me to change and make the actual character. I still don't like the way she came out. The proportions are off. And I still have the piece. I might get around to fixing it one day. It is technically sealed, but I can color over it. It's not a big deal. But yeah, so she kept wanting me to do that. And I was getting irritated. I finally had, I love this teacher, by the way. She's the best teacher ever. She's still at that campus. I think she actually does 2 of the perimeter campuses. I think they're now technically UGA. But anyway, so she's fantastic. And then the nicest, sweetest Polish lady. Love her so much. Anyway, so she didn't like all that, whatever. And she wanted me to make the person bigger. I'm like, no. But I'm like, why am I reacting so negatively? Like, why am I having such? And I'm like, I think it has to do with the music. Like, wow. even I take it home and I do the same thing. I just play the song over and over and over again. I had this whole like, it's a 4 by 5 foot piece taped to my wall, coloring on it. And I was just remember being mad. I was so angry at how long this was taking me because I was working on the feathers at the time. in this particular instance. And I was just so mad. And I eventually switched it back to the other song, and everything got better.
So you just, you know what? That almost sounds like, so you had the song on repeat, and as a result, you were subconsciously on repeat working on the feathers. So all of that detail, I could see how that could like really have you
Well, like
stuck. Like the track was
music
just
wasn't-
skipping like a scratch CD where it just stuck in that one spot and wouldn't go past.
the music wasn't calming, I think is what it is. It was too angry for what I was working on, and it didn't match the tone of the piece. I just sent it in the chat. So you can kind of see it's more of like a hopeful kind of feeling to it. And you can almost kind of tell like if you look at the piece, you can kind of tell my turmoil that I was going through between the two kind of jarring art styles. And like where I was working on the softer pieces, like it definitely doesn't look, it still doesn't look finished to me. I still have more details I know I could put on it, but I got so sick of it. And when I finally switched back, I calmed down, but I still was like, no, I'm good. I want to get this done or whatever. But you can see that conflict of art styles based on the influence of the music I was listening to in the piece itself.
And if you're okay with it, I'm going to
you can pop it up if you want.
Yeah, I'll pop that up and we will.
The sides, by the way, fun fact, are torn because in the top left corner, I had it taped to a big board for one of the art shows, and people are horrible. Like I said, I hate people. And someone had knocked the board over and the top of it had ripped. So my art teacher had the idea to just rip the sides down completely and just rip the sides off.
And I could see that feathering if you were doing that kind of individually. Like
every time I thought I was done, I'd take it back to her or I'd show it to her and she'd be like, oh, and now you can go into this part. And I'm like, no. Finally, I'm like, I'm done. This is it. Like, I'm sorry, but I've been working on this piece for
no, wrong thing.
I've been working on this piece for like a month and a half at that point. Every single day I was going in. If I had any free time in between classes, I was in the art room working on this. This is definitely something that I worked on more than anything else because of the detailing in the feathers alone. I was looking forward to doing the sunset, but instead I created a lackluster sunset because I got so stuck on the wings. I didn't go back through and finish the sunset. I did a base and said, I'm done. That's it.
There you go. And I mean, it's an island in and of itself in the water there.
Otherwise there's no detail because I got so frustrated with the thing. I had to switch back to the calmer music. I was practicing a lot with detailing stuff. As you can see, the hair is really well done too. With all the individual strands and things like that. I just picked up pastels like the semester before. So this was like, something I was really diving into. But anyway, so yeah, that's my art stuff. So music, I think, has a good influence on people, no matter what it is.
Yeah, because I could absolutely see how if you're already focusing on something and you're listening to the wrong thing, it could, have like a subliminal effect on you and have you, like you said, you were just angry at that point, and then everything else was triggering on top of that. So it could have just been really hard to get out of that space and work more creatively. But we're going to do something very creative right now. Once again, we are going to create our very own GrownAGeeks Geek playlist. Just so you know, I've been taking note of a few things here and there as we've been talking. Currently, and I will be sharing this. I'll pop a link in at the end, so you'll be able to share that link. I do apologize; it will be on Spotify because that is the one that I use. But more importantly, if you get the link, look at the songs. You don't necessarily have to sign up or subscribe to Spotify. Just recreate the playlist on your service of choice. And if you want to, by all means, click that QR code, join the group, and share the playlist that you make. If you make it on Tidal or if you make it on Pandora, Apple, Google, Amazon, wherever your playlist is, if you can recreate and these songs are available, by all means. So we started off pretty strong with Undefeatable. Mm-hmm. That was the very first song that I popped in when David made mention of that. We have Smile Bomb from Yu Yu Hakusho. I added Life Will Change, Awakening, Willpower. We added the entire Cadence of Hyrule, and we added the song Blood by In This Moment.
Real quick, because I know I went through a lot of stuff, but if I had to put like stuff that's like my soundtrack, like stuff that I really like,
Absolutely.
it would have to be Theme of Laura from Silent Hill 2.
Theme of Laura. Okay.
And then 1 second.
Jeff, what was that Tony Hawk song you had?
Whistle Theme from Deadly Premonition.
Whistle, what? Not that whistle.
No.
Whistle Theme.
Whistle Theme. I think it's actually called Life is Beautiful.
Oh, okay.
Life is Beautiful. But it's a whistle thing. You can go do 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 do. I can't whistle, so I'm not gonna try. And then of course the Binding of Isaac, that original soundtrack.
Now, Life is Beautiful, Whistle Theme. What was that one from?
Deadly Premonition.
Because I'm gonna have to find that one. Okay, let me make a note of that one, and I will get it added because it did not pop up initially.
And then
and it's funny because like okay, Deadly Premonition, Whistle Theme. Okay, did you have another one you wanted to add?
I am trying to figure out which one of the Binding of Isaacs that I was. There it is. It's called Sacrificial.
Sacrificial.
Mm-hmm. It's from the original Binding of Isaac.
Got it? Booyah. All right, that's on there as well. All right. So far, we are up to 1 hour and 3 minutes of Geek Playlist. Thanks to a full 35 minutes Cadence of Hyrule. So that will occupy a good bit of time. So make sure you set that up for random. That way you're not just stuck in Cadence of Hyrule.
Hold on. I got one more just to throw it for a loop. I got one more.
Oh, don't worry. I got 20 tracks right here that'll throw it all for you.
Hold on. Let's see which.
And surprisingly, only 2 whole albums. That's impressive when 2 whole albums make up a Geek soundtrack. But I think both albums deserve it, and we're going to talk about it.
Okay. I don't even know if it'll have it on Spotify. Adventures in the Magic Kingdom, either Ghost House or Pirate Island, or you can do both. Those of you guys who know what that is, that's a Disney SNES game. Or NES, not SNES. NES game.
Yeah, got it.
It came out in 1990.
Slice of Disney, Adventures in the Magic Kingdom. Oh, wait a minute. I got to check that one out because that one is 27 minutes.
Oof.
So
that might be the full soundtrack.
I was like, that might be. We'll have to go back and
just listen to it, I guess.
Yeah, we'll have to go in and see what that is. I will edit this if necessary, and we may find 1 or 2 songs out of that and go back. So cool. So I did ask everybody to grab a handful of songs that you want to make. And I know truthfully David probably had a list for me.
Oh yeah, I got a list.
I've got a list, and I know Jeff got a list. Jeff probably already got a created playlist. He's just like, here, use this link.
I don't know none of the video game songs. I just pull 5 like geek. I just pull 5, but I can probably pull more out of my posterior if needed as the conversation goes.
And it's like I've got a whole list of my lighting. I've got a whole list of 20 here, and each one of these is like geek inspired, and it is mostly hip hop. And I was talking with my son, and we were going through, and it was kind of funny. He picked out one, and I picked out one, and next thing I know, we had, he actually gave me 8 songs, and I came up with 12. And like I said, 2 of mine are whole albums. So David, let me get some of yours in here. Talk to me. What you got?
Okay.
let me get my.
I say if we are doing the amounts that you guys are talking about, trust me, I've got a whole bunch more. But
I mean, we can always build to it. So for we can add to this playlist later, and I'm always happy to go back and add some in. For now, let's get a few songs, and we can discuss one or two of the songs, why it made the cut, etc. Blah blah blah. And I think Linda, when you were kind of going through some of your songs, it was perfect because you were giving me like a very good reason. That's why I just added the entire Cadence of Hyrule, because I'm like, I want to hear that. So we'll just add that whole thing.
So now, personally, I am more familiar with Crypt the Necrodancer, but David is a Cadence of Hyrule. The fun thing with Crypt the Necrodancer is you have David, what is it, like 4 levels, maybe 5, right?
For not Cadence,
Crypt
and Nectar.
Yeah.
4, 5.
Depending on if you have the Switch version or not. I think the Switch has an extra level.
Yeah.
But yeah, so each one has 3 stages in the level, and or these stages with levels in them, however you want to say it. But each like level within the stage has its own song. That and they're all catchy as hell. And the fun thing is you can unlock, because it's a roguelite. You can unlock different characters to play, and of course different characters have different abilities and different pros and cons to playing them. On top of it, each character has their own remixed version of each song.
Yep.
So it's not going to sound the same if you play as different characters.
Now
it's very fun.
That is cool. So that will probably make my list if nothing else. So that'll be one I have to go back and what was that one?
Crypt the Necrodancer. Crypt of
the Necrodancer. All righty. So talk to me. What we got?
Oh boy. All right, cool. So next couple of picks for me are gonna come from like 2 different albums. So follow me on this. All right.
All right.
I think Linda knows where I'm gonna go with this one. So the first one is going to be from the Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight soundtrack. The 2 specifically that I'm thinking of is Deep Mentality, the Lotus Juice remix, and Battle Hymn of the Soul, Daisuke Asakura remix.
Why does Lotus Juice remix sound dirty?
Don't worry about it. Because that beat is filthy. That's why.
That's okay. We'll go with that.
Lotus Juice. Which one was it?
Okay,
Deep Mentality?
Yeah, Deep Mentality, Lotus Juice remix, and then the second one off that album would be Battle Hymn of the Soul, Daisuke Asakura remix.
There it is. Okay. Boom.
And then moving on to the next album, I got a few off of this one. It's going to be the Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight soundtrack. So the first one is going to be the Tokyo Daylight Atlas Kozuka remix.
Got it. All right.
The Willpower Sacho remix.
Now that's separate from Willpower, because that was on the original soundtrack.
Yes, this
is the
all of these are remixes.
Okay, this is what you were telling me the other day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so Willpower Sacho remix. Got it.
Last Surprise Taku Takahashi remix.
Not the Jazztronic.
No, that's the Wake Up, Get Up, Get Out There. That's the wait. I think does Last Surprise have a? No,
I'm looking at. I see yours. Yep, there it is. Okay, yep. Takahashi remix, but there is also a Last Surprise Jazztronic remix.
Am I tripping? Is it? You sure that's
both?
Oh yeah, add that one too. Add that one too.
Yeah, they both on there.
Oh no, I see it because it's right under the next song that I was about to add in there. The Hoshi 2 Bokura to Tofu Beats remix. Yeah.
Now I know Tofu Beats.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. That's what I'm talking about.
What are we talking about?
Ghost in the Shell standalone complex soundtrack.
Ooh.
Yes.
Ooh.
I like it. Inner
Yeah.
You know what? Let me pull that one. Well, actually, I'll keep that one up. We'll pull that up when I'll add those in.
Yeah.
Keep going. What you got?
And then my last two are going to be from the Sonic Frontiers soundtrack.
Okay.
Especially your favorite one.
My
Your favorite
one?
song.
Oh, okay, never mind. 3. Sorry. three songs.
Sonic Frontiers.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't. You know what, David? I don't even remember what the censored version of the song says.
Instead of we'll get there. We'll get there. Actually, hold on. Is it? No. Okay. I'm trying to see if the names are different. It shouldn't be. Where is it? Hold on. Let me just make sure that it's there. I don't see it, but there's a lot of music. There's a lot of music there. Oh yeah, no, it is there. There it is. I'm looking at the wrong one. So the first one I'm going to say is "Find Your Flame."
Find Your Flame.
Yep. Find Your Flame. And then moving up on that list, you're gonna look for Cyberspace 1-2 Flowing. That thing goes crazy. And then the last one is it's got to be the theme of it. It's going to be
Find Your Flame. What was the other one? Sorry.
Cyberspace 1-2 Flowing.
Okay, Cyberspace 1-2 Flowing. Got it.
Yep. And then the last one, actually, I don't know if it's on here. But we're looking for the theme of it. It's going to be called "Vandalize" by One OK Rock. Okay.
That's the one.
That's the one.
That's the one.
That's the one.
David, this song or this game is for children.
They censored it. It's fine.
So
tell them the story about when you heard about that song and when you first heard it.
Okay,
Man.
so I have a. Let me just make sure I got the right one here. I have "Vandalize" from Sonic Frontiers.
Yep.
Not Tony, Rayo, because I see a couple of them here, and I'm trying to.
Oh, yeah. You want the one from Sonic Frontiers, or you could do the one off
Vice.
No, it's by One OK Rock. Let me see.
Sonic Frontiers original.
Like if you start typing in "Vandalize," it's just.
I'm getting a couple of different. I don't see one that says One OK Rock. That's the thing. That's the only thing I'm trying to make sure I get the right one.
Well, because are you searching it? Are you searching for it on the Sonic Frontiers soundtrack?
I am, but I have to go. I'd have to go like song by song on that entire list to find that. I don't have a way to.
Okay, well you can search the song by itself. It's because it's just off of the band's like newest album. So you can just type in "Vandalize" and it's just right there.
Gotcha. Vandalize. Okay, got it.
Yeah. But
we want to get the original version or the edited version?
Dealer's choice.
Or the Japanese version. You know what? We're gonna add all three because there's three versions of it. There's explicit, there's the Japanese, and there's the clean. So
there you go.
3 songs just to make sure we got it covered.
Yeah. So I guess the story time for that one.
Yes.
So like for up until the release of Sonic Frontiers, I've been kind of keeping myself more or less like unspoiled on it. I didn't want to really know anything or see anything, but then like somebody just like slapped the like part of the song like in a message to me, and I'm like, all right, cool, fine, whatever, I'll listen to it later, right? So I'm at work. I'm getting ready. I'm settling in. Get ready to start doing some work and taking some calls. I start listening to the song, and for anybody that knows the song, it's kind of jarring because you hear the official version first, and you're like, "How is this in a Sonic game?" So the lyrics go. Shit. What's the lyrics go? It goes. I sing this song all the time and I can't fucking remember the lyrics now. Hold on, let me look it up real quick because I don't want to misquote it because I want you to get the full brunt of what I had to deal with.
The full effect there.
Yeah.
Now, Richard, if you are still with us, is that Cyberbird and Rise, are those part of the standalone Complex soundtrack? Because I see we've got a couple, and when I put in Cyberbird, it looks like I would have to find that soundtrack first. So if you catch that comment, let me know. But I did get Inner Universe and I did get Christmas in the Silent Forest. So just double checking to see if they're all part of the same album.
Okay, I got it now.
Go ahead.
All right. So from what was sent to me, it started from like that first bridge. So it's like, said you keep me safe, now you're tearing me down. Am I laid to waste now that you're not around? Come and leave your mark, vandalize my heart, right? So in Sonic Frontiers, the next line goes, fight the pain away, my head is in ruins. Now, if you go to the official hold on, wait for this.
Like that already is like,
Yeah.
The Sonic or the Smiths?
Yeah.
Like, is this a Sonic or Shadow game? Like,
oh, listen to Undefeatable. Yeah, just it's crazy. But in the Luxury Disease album version, right? It's fuck the pain away, my bed is in ruins. And that is the version that I heard first.
Right. Okay.
And I'm like, how in the fuck is this in a Sonic game?
David just got it playing in the background while he's doing work, and all of a sudden he's like,
What?
What?
What's happening here?
My boy Sonic down bad.
Fuck the pain away, my bed is in ruins. Now,
I didn't know Sonic was a hoe. I'm just saying.
Dog, I don't know what's going on anymore. All that did was solidify my need for this game because now I have to know.
Yeah, that's
I gotta know.
That's questionable. And it's funny because when I heard that line, I knew what line was coming because I'm like, there's a whole other song. I've heard that line before. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
And that's exactly where it went. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
That's the story time of the Sonic the Hedgehog.
All right, Jeff.
All right, I got 9 songs.
9 songs. All right.
They're not all video game related.
Yeah.
No, that
So
and honestly,
okay.
like mine aren't all video game related. Mine are all geek culture. So there's some anime inspired, movie inspired, TV inspired, etc.
All right, cool.
Almost
So
all of mine
number
are
one-
anime related.
Number
Game
one
related.
is Whitney Houston, I'm Your Baby Tonight, aka the X-Men animated series theme song.
Hey, you know what? Valid.
Ooh, I'm sorry. It's something just popped in my head, and I have to this has to go in the list because this was an anime ending. Jodeci, freaking you.
Wait, what? What anime is playing Jodeci?
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Yeah. As soon as he said it, I was like
somebody just died a horrific death. Every time I close my
eyes, I wake up feeling so. No, stop it.
Giorno? What's that?
Oh, can we do the other one, the Savage Garden one too?
Yeah. Let's let Jeff
cherry cola.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right, I'm Your Baby Tonight, Whitney Houston.
2.
That is actually a great ad, Whitney Houston. I love that. Go ahead.
Too Hot to Handle, Too Cold to Hold. They call the Ghostbusters and they're on patrol. We're going Bobby Brown on our own. from the
Okay.
Ghostbusters 2 soundtrack, which I'm just one of them people. I feel like Bobby Brown, just because of all the antics, fair enough. His music doesn't get the credit it deserves. The fact that that man got the lead single on a Ghostbusters 2 soundtrack,
yes,
should tell you how big he was like at the time.
absolutely.
This is before Whitney. This is post. This is like right between New Edition and Whitney, and he was the man.
He was. Hey, that song right there. That's proof that he was in the league to get a Whitney Houston.
Yeah,
like he
All
was.
right.
He was up there.
3, Black Sheep by Metric from Scott Pilgrim.
there you go. Yeah,
It's like I could technically just throw the whole Scott Pilgrim soundtrack on there,
You
but
really
if I had
could.
to pick
You
one.
really could. You
it would
really
be
could.
that one. Number 4, the B-Boy document from Tony Hawk. It's like High and Mighty featuring Mos Def and Skills. That was like the song from the original Tony Hawk that me and my cousins always like. That was the one we loved. That was when I was getting into backpack rap. I had just heard of Mos Def. I spent the summer in New York with like my cousins who were all like rappers, learning how to make beats and stuff. And I just
was that Fruity Loops, or were you on Pro Tools?
Nah, I was on like an actual MPC. Like my cousins had like an in-home studio, so I was sampling stuff. I was on the drum machine. I was on the keyboard, everything. So yeah.
Okay.
Number 5, Alpha by Toa T. It's basically the opening theme song to Super Crooks.
Okay.
One of those
All right.
weird anime that I
No,
love, but I
I'm
never
with
hear
you.
anybody talk about.
No,
But that song is fire. And I mean, if you want to watch the opening theme song, you might enjoy it. I'll just throw that out there. I don't want to be weird about it,
No,
but it is kind of like, interesting. I did number 6 is a song called 101 by Nas, and it's from the Street Fighter soundtrack. And the reason I love that song so much is because actually it was sampled by Tidra Moses for Be Your Girl. So if you want to throw Tidra Moses Be Your Girl on there too, even though it's not on a GEEK soundtrack, but that's one of my favorite like R&B songs from my college days. That's Be Your Girl is one of them songs where it's like, it would be nice if a girl was thinking about me like this. So I throw it out there.
Nas, you said 101?
Yeah, 101 by Nas.
7
That
must be on title because they do not have. Let me see here. 1. We tried a couple of different ways. 101.
Or you could probably just find the Street Fighter soundtrack, the like movie.
That's probably what it's gonna be.
7, I put the Mortal Kombat theme song because it's just like, I mean, even just like football games, the band playing that, and that was one of the few like electro techno songs that would get other communities hyped besides the intended.
Like,
yeah,
there's something that's one that really does get you like hype.
Yeah,
and it's even just the original, like just the techness. It's still hype. Like it's just you hear that and I'm ready to go.
Plus, everybody's waiting for just to yell out Mortal Kombat in unison with everybody. So it's a community oriented song as well. Yeah. Even though we're yelling it to watch people maim each other and rip each other's spines out. And then I put another song from Tony Hawk, Bring the Noise by Public Enemy, but the Anthrax remix. Okay. And this was the first time I had heard like rap mashed up with like thrash metal, and I was like, this is interesting. And then my last one, this one is not on a soundtrack. This one is not video game related, but me and my cousin used to play this song on repeat anytime we play racing games because it samples the Knight Rider theme. It's Love to Love You by Timberland and Magoo, the remix. The remix samples like the Knight Rider theme, and so we would just put that on and just play racing games.
You brought out Nas. You brought out Timberland and Magoo. It's crazy.
Boom.
All right.
I'm being good. I've been thinking of like other stuff while we're doing, and I'm just typing them up.
Okay, there you go.
I'm not
I'm all
interrupting.
done. That's
Okay.
my list. Nice and tired.
So when I was sitting here going through, and of course, some of the things that kicked in, of course, I listened to just like a lot, and I listened to everything, and I'm all over the place. But just because of what it was, I kind of created a list, and I ranked it like top 20, and I'm gonna skip around some, but the very first thing that came to mind was gotta have Thundercat, Dragon Ball Durag.
All right,
Fire.
yeah.
Like, we cannot have a geek playlist and not have Thundercat. You could literally just have Thundercat as an artist on this playlist, and it works. Like, but specifically, if there has to be a song, Dragon Ball Durag is obviously the way to go for that one. After that, just because it's so like definitive in terms of its sound, Apollo Fresh, JoJo Pose. Anybody who's ever watched JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, you're gonna love this song because it has like the original theme integrated in, and it's such a dope song. It's fun. And it's without a doubt, it's hype, and it's like, that's one of those, if it comes on, I'm gonna move every time. I can't sit still when that plays. I'm gonna special shout out to my son on this one, Uncle Iroh, Toby Lou.
Word. I would it.
I wanted to make sure he got his credit for that one, because that was one that he added, and when I was sitting and listening to it, I was like, hey. And
I like Toby Lou a lot.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, that was one, and so this is why we're making this list now, because he, like, as we were talking about some songs, some of the stuff he was mentioning, some of the stuff I was mentioning, we got to go. My next one, just because it's very on the nose, I have two from Kyle. Sex and Super Smash, and we're gonna do where was it? Super Duper Hero. That's two songs from Kyle. And for anybody who's not sure who that is, he's the other guy on the Broccoli song, or not Broccoli, but I Spy with Little Yachty.
Yeah.
So the other guy is Kyle. And so where is it? Where's the song? I had it right there. I think it was on this album. Yeah, Super Duper Hero. Add to playlist. Geek. Okay. And I will add the other one in a moment. And because I know there's just so, I'm going to go back and add all the ones that are on my list here, but I want to give these definite mentions here. Nujabe's Battle Cry.
Word. I would it. That's solid.
Pretty much everything from Samurai Champloo is going to have a special place just because of the sound. That fusion of Japanese lo-fi and hip-hop, that fusion sound is phenomenal. And I was introduced to Nujabe's because of Samurai Champloo, and like, such a loss to not be able to get anything else. What's out is what's out, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
So add Battle Cry. It'll be on the list, so you can get that one. But when you go and you actually find the artist, there's so much other stuff there that's just like, whew, it's so These two, well, actually, no. Judo Flip by Asheru. That is the sound.
Yeah.
That is the opening theme from the Boondocks cartoon, which is heavily anime inspired.
Right.
And therefore, I think Judo Flip is one that definitely deserves a place on this list and would, truthfully, in my opinion, sit very high.
And I would say, even if you want to add some of the songs from the Boondocks, like
Yeah.
F Granddad,
Right.
Homies Over
Homies
Hoes.
Over Hoes. I mean, it's some good stuff in there. It is actually some really good stuff.
I just rewatched it like a couple months ago, and it's basically the Black Simpsons.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's see, we got Super Duper Heroes. It's such a man. I got so many on here. I'll do some honorable mentions just so I can throw them out there. They'll be on the list, but the ones I really want to highlight: Danger Doom, MF Doom, and Danger Mouse.
Right.
Adult Swim presents. That is an entire album, all cartoon geeky as Adult Swim. The same kind of humor. They have a lot of the voice cast from the Adult Swim lineup featured, and MC Chris is on there, and Adam Reed and all of the voice actors.
Damn,
and
MC
actresses.
Chris. Man.
Actually,
Yeah.
MC Chris Feds Vet is actually on my list.
Feds Vet. You know what? We're adding that right now. Feds Vet. Hell yeah.
I wasn't sure if I'd get made fun of for that, but I was going to add it
No.
anyway.
Nah, that's
No,
solid.
that is a super solid.
That's
pick.
hella that's valid.
But do you guys remember his appearance on Aqua Teen?
Yes.
Yes.
See, and it's like I want more from C Lab because I want. Oh, I thought he was. I didn't know he was a real doctor. I thought it was like Dr. Dre, West Side, like that. Just that so hilarious. So Danger Doom, that whole album, greatest hits, MF Doom. Just take your pick. The man created a persona around Dr. Doom, comic book character, mad villainy. The genius involved in building an entire persona and staying with it through his entire career. Just get the greatest hits for MF Doom. You can't go wrong. So I'm not even, just add that. And without a doubt, I want to give a second shout out right here because Richard has it in his comments as well. You can see it right there. Number one on my list, Cowboy Bebop soundtrack, Tank by Seatbelts. That is without a doubt. That is the most geek sound in my head. When I hear the opening soundtrack to Cowboy Bebop, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I'm stopping and I'm listening to that entire song. But I want to give honorable mention to Black Spider-Man from Logic, Bikini Bottom from Yes Please by Yes Please, Crescendo by the Underchairs, Underachievers, Sailor Moon by Little Booty Call, and there's yes. I said the same thing. My son added that one, and I heard it, and I was like, you know what, bro? Yes. So yes. So we will add those to the list as well. Everything that's on my list, all 20. The only one I'm not adding in its entirety is going to be the MF Doom greatest hits.
Right.
But just take anything from MF Doom. If I have to pick one, obviously we're going to pick Mad Villainy. But you could take any one of his albums and that would fit.
You could throw a couple of Ghostface Killer tracks from Iron Man on there too.
There you go. Which Iron Man was that? It was 2? No. It was the first one, wasn't it?
No. Ghostface Killer album.
Ghostface. I'm with you. I was like, wait, no, that was. But they had that was the. Actually, you know what? That's probably another one that kind of fits though. Was that Iron Maiden? No, who does that? Dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun.
Is that
Is that Led Zeppelin? I think that might be Led Zeppelin. Black Sabbath, actually.
Yeah, I don't know. Dang.
Yeah, I was,
Not my music.
I was about to say, I ain't that good. I'm close, but I know some of it. But yeah, Black Sabbath, Iron Man, and of course they have a 2012 remaster. So you check that one out. But I think that one deserves a spot. Iron Man. We'll add that one. And but Ghostface Killer. All right, Linda. What else?
Okay, so I have got. Hold on. It's playing a little game in the background. Okay. I have got. I just picked bits and pieces, even though some of these have like the whole soundtracks was fire. Some of them I just say literally anything from it. So Jet Set Radio. Probably anything from it, but specifically Concept of Love.
Yeah. Okay.
Is really good. Like, of course, that's like the one everyone knows. It's like the first song.
Like Fly Like a Butterfly.
I know you like
one
that.
other. Boom. Okay. Jet Set Future.
I think it's just Jet Set Radio. I don't think it's
Jet Set Radio. Well, there's Jet Set Radio.
Well, there's, I guess technically
Radio
it's
Future.
It's Jet Grind Radio, but okay. Depending on which versions you're talking about. Anyway, and then there's Katamari on the Swing from Katamari Damacy.
Hold on, go back real quick. What was the other one from Jet Set?
Concept of Love. There goes David.
I look at it. It's like I just remember. I just remembered humming the bass line, and I was like,
Okay. So what's really funny, and I don't know what the difference is here. I'd actually have to look into that a little bit harder. But you have Jet Set Radio and Jet Set Radio Future.
It's by Hideki.
No, I got the song, but that's why I was getting thrown because
yeah.
you can hear there's two albums. Yeah. But one was what, Dreamcast, and the other was
Xbox.
Okay.
OG boy.
Yeah.
The one is the original, like the first one is the originals. Future is the remixes, basically.
Right.
Pretty much,
that's why I was like, okay. And all right, now what would you say the second song?
It's called Katamari on the Swing. It's from Katamari Damacy, but a lot of the Katamari songs use a similar kind of like hook for their song.
See on those rocks. Let's see on the swing.
There's one's called because it's a swing version.
What album is it on? Because
I have no idea. I think it was from the first game, but it might be on something. It might be called on, or no, was it? I mean, it was on multiples. We Love Katamari. I think that was the original one it was on. Supposedly, it was song 4 on the We Love Katamari soundtrack.
Okay, let's see that. We Love. So there's that's a podcast, not that one. Okay, I'm gonna have to write that one down.
I did post a link there. So you can open it up. You can know which one I'm talking about via YouTube. Okay. Let's see. Ninja Rap.
Fire.
You know what? I gotta say
valid. Okay. I see. Ninja.
And this is going kind of a weird turn. It's still, to me at least, it's still like the nerdy category. It's just more of animated films rather than not Japanese animated and not technically Disney. Literally anything from Road to El Dorado. Elton John just slayed that whole soundtrack. My brothers and I were obsessed with it. We wore out the DVD.
Next music episode, we should do like cartoon, like music. Because you're not even bringing up a bunch of like theme songs from old shows and stuff you grew up on too.
Let's see. Pretty much and you can literally add this. It's the entire soundtrack to Frequency.
Ooh.
That one, just for some examples, you had No Doubts on there, Crystal Method, Freeze Pop, Dub Pistols, Low Fidelity All Stars. just a little bit of everything. Paul Oakenfold. It's great. Power Man 5000, because why not? But it's so good. It is like 27 songs, but
that's the original soundtrack.
yes. There was a sequel to Frequency as well. Personally, I liked Frequency better, but Weird Al as a whole.
Yeah.
He was one of the first pioneers for nerd music. So yeah.
Yeah.
I have a good one, and those of you guys who fell asleep with Cartoon Network on are going to know what this is. Do As Infinity by
there it is.
Fukai Mori. It's the second ending for Inuyasha. Boku Tashiwa. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
David's going to love this next one. Real Emotion. From Final Fantasy X-2. See, there he goes.
Boom. Okay, got it.
David's gonna like this one too. Simple and Clean and Sanctuary.
Goddamn. Okay.
By Utada Hikaru. Kingdom Hearts.
Look, man.
Did you want to do any of the remix, or are we doing the original?
Just the originals.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then, I mean, this can be, I didn't want to go in depth. I wanted to at least mention it. Bob's Burgers. Almost every single episode, if not every single episode, has an original song that they wrote for the episode. But like, if you go through and watch it, you may not even notice it. But if you go through and watch it, that's part of their formula. They have some sort of a montage or something where a song is featured. And then they usually play it in the credits as well.
I was about to say, if nothing else, they always have like original credits. So
David, I know he's tired of me because I sing the Thanksgiving song around Thanksgiving.
No, I kind of had to low key stop watching with my wife because she be singing them Linda songs. I'd be like,
right.
Hey.
They're so good. Pass the cranberry sauce. I had mashed potatoes. Ooh, the turkey looks great.
Gene and his little keyboard.
Ooh, Ghostface Killer Daytona 5.
And of course, I already mentioned Fet's Fet. So
yeah, that was such a good ad right there. Like, and that was one I probably, unfortunately, like, even though I have the entire Danger Doom album, I would have missed that. So thank you. Thank you for that one.
It's so crazy how like Ninja Turtles 2 got the better song, but the first one is like the better movie.
True,
by like a lot.
I don't know. I really liked the second one. I think it had, looking at it from like how I looked at it as a child, I remember liking the second one better. I can understand as an adult watching it now and understanding the concepts and the way it's put together. It's a superior movie, the first one compared to the second one. But in my opinion, at least, the second one has more visual interest to me, if that makes sense, than the first.
I mean, it definitely has like a budget behind it for sure. And I think the visual stuff that they did with like the ooze and growing, making the
I love the giant dandelions. I remember the giant dandelions. I'm like, those look so cool. I want one. And I did also love the fact that it focused more on other characters. And whereas the first one was very mainly just like the turtles. And that's it.
Yeah, I mean, the expansion they did in coming from the cartoon, having so many different characters, to see all of those characters come through. You know what I'm saying? Getting our Casey Jones and seeing like even the little kid, you know, having our Rocksteady and Bebop.
Kino. I I never cared for Casey Jones, but you know, he's always seemed kind of dirty to me. I'm just like, no.
He definitely needed a shower.
Like he I know he was supposed to be, you know, hockey dude, right? He reminded me too much of like homeless surfer guy who
I was about to say it wasn't even like hockey dude. He was like homeless street bum who collected random supplies, and that's how he decided to fight crime. Like bro, what? How are you? No.
Like he doesn't even live in California. He's like on the East Coast on a beach, and like just kind of he
Wow.
barely does any actual surfing, but he brags about it all the time. And he does more couch surfing than actual wave surfing.
One time he went surfing.
But he says, "Oh, I don't have to shower because my skin gets naturally cleaned and sanitized by the salt water of the ocean," kind of thing, you know.
That's a whole.
I mean, the fact that they could like go out to the country for like 2 weeks and it didn't really affect his life at all.
He's like,
it's
okay.
like, fam, you don't have rent, a job, a cat,
obligation of any sort,
a plant to water,
a fish, like
he can just hop up,
up
and out,
upside down in the fish tank,
right, up and out. Man, that is so this playlist, as it stands right now, they have it listed as 48 songs, but we have 4 hours and 1 minute of audio. And keep in mind that there is a full. I have to double check on what's happening adventures in Magic Kingdom, because I'm wondering if that is in fact music or if that is just like a podcast or something. So I'm gonna take a look at that one and vet it a little better to see what needs to happen with that. We do have the full 30-minute pixelated playgrounds cadence of Hyrule, so that's a full 30. And mind you, I didn't even add in my full albums, Danger Doom whole album and MF Doom Greatest Hits, both of which would probably add at least another hour between the two. Because actually, I think MF Doom Greatest Hits is an hour by itself.
I think longer.
So I mean, that's if you did all of his albums, because technically they would all qualify. That would be one thing. But if you just get the greatest hits, I think it's like right at an hour. But there would actually be a lot of other songs if we open the forum up to just say anything that has quote unquote influence from anything in pop culture, or not even pop culture, but even if you do keep it specifically with a geek theme, songs like Superman Lover, Kryptonite by Three Doors Down,
Kryptonite by Purple Ribbon.
You know what I'm saying? So you really start opening up the floodgates for what could qualify and what could be included. So, people, I ask, as you see this video, you know what I'm saying, make sure you do your like and subscribe. We certainly appreciate that. But in addition, like, leave a comment. If there's songs that you want to add, I'll go back. I'll keep an eye on this, and I'll continue to increase and add to the playlist. I will be sharing this playlist, so make sure you click that QR code over there. Join us in our group on Facebook, GrownAGeeks, and once you're there, you can find this playlist. I'll have it posted there as well. Anybody got any last things they want to say? Any final comments?
Nah, I got nothing.
All right. Well, enjoy your music. Thank you, everybody, for the playlist contributions. For Linda, David, Jeff, I am Sam. We are GrownAGeeks, and we are out of here. Peace.